Broadcasting from the sort of studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And I say that because neither Jim or I are actually in the studio right now, but this is going out through the studio for folks to be listening to. But we are coming to you from the studios of, or at least the radio towers of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Welcome to The Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the country. And no matter where you live, from Long Island to Mobile to northern Wisconsin to San Diego, we've got you here on The Gailey Show. I'm your host, Sean Parker. With me is my executive producer, Jim Pounds. It is Friday. Hey, y'all. It is Friday, so we like to end our weeks talking about culture and entertainment because LGBTQ folks are some of the most censored artists, writers, filmmakers in the United States today. So we want to take that time to lift them up, talk about what they are doing. And in the second half hour of the show, author and critic Ilana Mosad is going to join us to discuss queer books that you should be reading. Ilana joins us monthly on the third Fridays of the month. Excuse me. But up first, we have some reviews and previews for you. There are 3 LGBTQ Christmas rom-coms coming out this month, plus one that is queer adjacent, and a 5th one that may or may not be coming out in the US. But if you're in Canada, you are in luck, or if you're using a VPN. We'll talk about that in our second segment today. But we're going to get started with some film, or some just TV, actually, some reviews and some sad news for Jim. Boots has been canceled on Netflix after 1 season. According to Deadline, the show did have internal support within the company, and it had a 90% score on Rotten Tomatoes. And actually, Deadline reporting that Sony TV, who produced it, actually extended the options on a few of the cast members just in case there was a second season, but it was not to be. And I looked this up because of the exclusivity that Netflix requires when a company decides to stream their shows on Netflix. You can't shop it to another streamer platform. So Boots is getting a less than honorable discharge. Jim,
well, this was expected in a way because the Pentagon hated the truth of this, and they started a PR thing right when it came out. Oh, this is woke, and this is nonsense, and this is. But
you think it's the Pentagon?
Well, queers are crawling all over the military, way beyond people's expectations, if you include bisexual folks, which are the majority of the people in the country. So they didn't like that truth getting out there. They didn't want to be seen that way. And I think they had everything to do with killing it. Whether it doesn't matter who it was. When you have a maniacal bunch of maniacs running your government, this is not something they could tolerate. They can't solve a real problem, but boy, they can solve an artificial one just by the wave of their hand. So it's too bad. I think there was a lot of potential to grow that and to tell an honest story about the complexity of the military. But nope, we're back to the John Wayne paper thin nonsense, I guess.
I didn't like it, so I don't.
Well, then you should be happy. You should be celebrating.
I'm not happy. I don't like it when queer actors are out of work, but the show was deeply, deeply problematic from a queer perspective. So it is still available on Netflix if you want to watch all of the episodes. Okay. Heated Rivalry. The 4th episode dropped this past weekend. We are back to our main characters, Ilya and Shane. We didn't see them at all in the 3rd episode, so we were back to them again in episode 4. And we kept jumping in time, per usual, watching their characters meet when their teams play together, and then they have illicit sex that nobody knows about, super secret sex. And this episode, Ilya was talking about a woman that he also sleeps with, And Shane got upset about it, but then he doesn't really want to have a relationship with Ilya, even the super secret relationship that they're having. So he kind of walks out on Ilya. And then everyone says that Shane is boring because he doesn't drink and he doesn't go out, et cetera, et cetera. So he does go out finally to a party, to a club, and he meets an actress and they start dating. And it's all over the media and social media, the happy couple. And Ilya is now pissed. Jim, your thoughts on episode 4?
Literally, I mean, this is so ironic that you and I are on different sides of this, because the complexity of Boots, not people not being perfect, people not making good decisions, but being at least two-dimensional people, was so much more satisfying than the one-dimensional drivel that we've gotten for 3 out of 4 episodes of heated rivalry or whatever the heck it is. It's softcore porn, which is fine, I guess, but that's not storytelling. 3 of those 4 episodes hardly told a story that I found compelling or interesting or believable. But again, sports, professional sports, college sports, semi-professional sports are a place where a lot of gay people hide. Men and women hide in these horribly toxic, masculine, toxic, whatever. Is there such a thing as toxic femininity? You know what I mean? This intolerant place. And it's like religion. So I'm glad they're saying, hey, we're actually a lot of us are here, and a lot of us are in the military, and a lot of us are in the church, and get over it. I do like that, but Boots is 1,000 times better storytelling than the hockey thing.
I would agree, actually, that Boots had better storytelling, even if it ended up being, in my opinion, anti-gay. Heated Rivalry, I do agree with you. It is very well shot pornography in the sense that they're both gorgeous and the lighting is gorgeous. The cinematography is
Right.
gorgeous. The music is perfect for what they're doing. But
Right.
there is very, very little character development because you're constantly jumping in time from secret sex moment to secret sex moment to secret sex moment, 2013, 2014, 2015. And I think they're trying to say, like, hey, they only get to meet 1 or 2 times a season, and this is how hot they are for each other.
Right.
And I get that, but
I
you
get
could have more, what does this mean to the characters? And instead we just see like Shane, with all of his endorsement deals, we see him at a photo shoot, right? And we see Ilya, and there's some sort of problem with his dad, and I think his dad has Alzheimer's or dementia, but they really haven't gotten into that except, sort of phone calls where he's yelling, and then that's kind of the end of it. So there hasn't been a lot of character development in the show, except for episode 3 with Scott and Kip. And I miss Scott and Kip. Those are the characters.
Yeah.
And I want Scott and Kip back. And I actually looked this up on IMDb. Scott, who is played by Francois Arnault, he is listed on IMDb of being in 6 episodes. Unfortunately, Robbie GK, who is playing Kip, is only in 2 episodes.
Uh-oh.
So we've seen one of those 2.
Yeah. I think they're both, I'm glad they're both there compared to, I mean, I'm sorry, Boots isn't going to be there. I think it says something terrible about Netflix, frankly, which is not easy to do. And I'm glad they're both there for representation, because I think that's really important. But technically, one is better storytelling than the other, because there are people around them that are interesting, and they express themselves. Whereas these 2 guys seem to exist in this bubble, and they're just sort of, they're play buddies, and there are relationships like that. But I don't know that that's been really being explored very well either. Maybe what we're learning is that one of them wants that and one of them doesn't. I don't know. And certainly if the one character is bisexual, that's fine too. But it just seems like you can't get out of the setup for a stupid text about see you in 2 weeks. And that just isn't any kind of a relate. It's
more like 6 months
or whatever. It just seems so facile and so one-dimensional that it's you just turn your head away and do other things on your computer, and then when a sex scene comes up, I guess you watch that. I don't know.
Well, that's because you don't know how to watch anything anymore. You just sit there and work all the time. So that wouldn't be. And I want to be mindful here. For a long time in the queer community, I feel like, particularly with films, everyone had their knives out for filmmakers. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And like,
yes,
we're super hypercritical because there was a sense that it had to be perfect because that was the only way that a studio would greenlight another movie, and we'll
right,
only get the one until next year. So
right.
I don't want to be seen as continuing that at
No,
all. I actually love that we're able to talk about multiple series
yeah,
now, and I think that that gives us finally the ability to look at a series and go, okay, there are narrative challenges here, but am I still happy it's there? Yes, absolutely. Am I still going to watch every single episode? Yes, for nothing less than they're gorgeous. And also, I'm obsessed with Scott and Kip, and I want to see more Scott and Kip. So those are the characters that I'm invested in, and I want to see justice for those two. And so I will continue watching it that way. And I would have watched the second season of Boots to see if they're able to turn it around, even though it ended in an absolutely tragic way. If you're, a gay person, but I want to be mindful to say that. Like, I do think that this series should be still watched, and I don't want to be one of that, that old generation where we felt like we only had one shot, so it had to be perfect. And if it's not, then we're just gonna, get all of our knives out and go after it. And that's not what I'm trying to do here at all.
yeah. It's not clear what the makers are really going for. We're making assumptions on 4 episodes, and
Well, it's based off of a very popular
right,
novel series, and it's so popular you literally cannot buy a single one of these
right.
novels right now. They are all on back order.
So
It's crazy.
if folks have read the novels, they might say, "You guys are nuts. You don't know what's coming," and we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Rachel Reed, I hope that she is making all the cash right now. Because yeah, between the series on HBO Max and now, all of her books being sold out, it's good
But
for her.
again, it's being made
I
in
can't compare it though to the. Go ahead, Jim.
it's being made in Canada, not here in the United States. So I think I would expect
Well,
Canada to be braver and smarter than we are
I've got
by a
to take a
long
break.
shot.
I've got to
Okay.
take a break.
All right.
You are listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour. We are going to be joined by author and critic Ilana Masad at the bottom of the hour. She's going to share 3 books that you need to be reading right now. But before we get to that point, we've got some reviews and previews for you of films that you can watch this month. First, Jim and I just saw the documentary Go Figure, the Randy Gardner story. This is a film from 2020. We watched it on Deku, Dekkoo. It is a streamer of gay films. It is an hour long. It is directed by Sheridan Sotelo, written by Randy Gardner, Joshua Ravitch, and Sheridan Sotelo. Stars Ty Babylonia, Randy Gardner, and Dorothy Hamill. And the official description for folks who may follow figure skating but may not know who Randy Gardner is. So, 2-time Olympian and world champion, the legendary Randy Gardner explores his true identity through figure skating and his one-man show. With his skating partner of over 50 years, Ty Babylonia, the pair experienced the heights of worldwide glory and devastating personal tragedy. And now the intense glare of the public spotlight softens, he is free to finally reveal his untold, magical, and meaningful journey on and off the ice. Jim, I'll start with you. Your thoughts of Go Figure, the Randy Gardner story.
It's interesting whenever I hear somebody an LGBT person from my youth. I grew up in the 70s, I think I can say 60s and 70s. So when any of someone like that I knew or remember or recognize who's LGBT or who has since come out or whatever, it sort of harkens back to the sort of silence that somebody your age, John, or younger probably just can't, even in these terrible times, you can't fathom what it was like to virtually be invisible. We talk about being invisible, but I remember him, and I didn't know he was gay at the time, but I remember him talking about how sort of gay bars used to be in little hovels, with black over their windows and back in an alley. It was just so underground. And for some reason, hearing him talk about that and what a huge thing it was for somebody to be gay, it was like, it was so over the top because we were so repressed. And so that's what it was making me think about that a little bit, and how insulated we were from, frankly, how many of us there are. And the fact that we are literally in every profession, in every country, in every neighborhood, in every place. And that idea was foreign in those days. That's what it made me think about.
Yeah. A big fan of figure skating, and was sad that I didn't know Randy and Ty. They, watching the video of it, they were really good pairs skaters rather, and their programs were really exciting. I like that they wove together sort of your traditional democratic documentary style, right? Your talking heads, found footage, photographs, narration, along with Randy's one-man show that he does that tells this entire story. And so we get to see him deliver that, and we get to see how he's telling that story to an audience as opposed to just looking into a camera and telling it, which I thought was really interesting to see that different dynamic of how he presents the story versus how a filmmaker is presenting his story and how he's telling it to a camera. And, I thought figure skating is such a homophobic sport. It's really hard apparently it was very hard for queer skaters to come out. We've seen that wall begin to break down a lot over the past 5-6 years, which is fantastic. It's not just one skater anymore. Like, we were just watching Ice Dance the other day, and like 3 of the couples had at least one person who was queer, which was amazing. But that's a sport that traditionally hasn't been that way. And we were actually talking to Connor McDermott Mostowi, who's a speed skater, who, fingers crossed, will be at the 2026 Olympics. You can check out that episode from Tuesday. And he was actually saying that speed skating has been very welcoming, and he has been out, and it's not the same dynamic in speed skating as in other sports. So, and you think of figure skating as like, oh, well, wait a minute, everybody's gay in figure skating. And you're like, hang on. So it was really interesting to see him telling his story. There were also just, some heartbreak of injuries and how doctors were mistreating him and how that impacted his career, which was like, what is going on? And then you also see him and Ty, world champions. And so it's a very, like athletics, very roller coaster journey. And I really enjoyed this, and I give it 5 out of 5 rainbows. And I really recommend that you find it, even if you have to do a free trial of Deku to watch it.
And it reminds me, every time we think of a sport that's mocked because it's too like ballet, or it's too much like something that's feminine, these men and women are unbelievable athletes. We've seen some lifts and throws and things where you have to lift a human being while you're moving and do it with some grace and precision, and or what Connor does that takes, stamina. I mean, these are unbelievable athletes, really.
I don't mean to
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I don't mean to rush you. We've just got 2
No.
minutes left, and I want to make
Okay.
sure folks know about some Christmas rom-coms that
Okay.
are available and new this month. So on Hallmark Plus, it wouldn't be Christmas without a Jonathan Bennett LGBTQ rom-com, and so it is a Keller Christmas Vacation, available on Hallmark Plus for you to watch right now. It follows the Keller siblings as they join their parents on a holiday cruise down the Danube. And not only is the family cute and quirky, but it's Jonathan Bennett, and he is the king of gay Christmas on Hallmark. So there's Keller Christmas Vacation, Hallmark Plus. On Tello, came out on November 18th, is the Christmas Writer, Riter. And this is a sapphic lesbian romance film. An author, Noelle, returns to her hometown. Love that. See that all the time in our Christmas rom-coms to recapture the Christmas spirit while dealing with the death of her mother and a bad breakup. And along with, you guessed it, writer's block. And it's the relationship that sparks love and, of course, a new book. Also available this month, coming out this weekend on Hallmark. The actual channel is The Christmas Baby, another lesbian Christmas romance about a couple who find a baby on their doorstep just before the holidays, and they decide to adopt. In Canada, but not yet available in the United States, is The Firefighter's Christmas Wish, which is another sapphic film, but it is about, as you guessed it, firefighters. And queer adjacent, Oh What Fun on Prime has a queer character in it, but stars Michelle Pfeiffer. That's all from us. We'll be back with author and critic Ilana Masad after this quick break. Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show, literally broadcasting out of AM 950's towers and WCPT's towers, but I'm actually in my secret underground bunker for today. I am John Parker. It is 33 minutes after the hour. If you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe button. Leave us a comment. We're asking folks to leave us a comment on YouTube because what do you want us to cover in 2026? There are obviously some major stories that are happening. We want to make sure that we are getting to the ones that you want, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show covering for you. So, Ilana Mosad is a writer of fiction, nonfiction, and criticism whose work has been widely published. She holds a PhD from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and is the author of the novels All My Mother's Lovers and Beings, just came out this fall, as well as the co-editor of the forthcoming anthology Here for All the Reasons Why We Watch The Bachelor. Ilana joins us on the third Fridays of the month to share queer books that you need to be reading. Ilana, welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here. I can't believe it's been a month already. How the time flies.
I know, right? That clip of you cracking me up has done very well on our YouTube channel.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I was so pleased. I told Raphael Frumpkin about it, and she was completely taken and said that it was such a high compliment to make that comparison.
I think she commented and said it's actually a completely 100% accurate. So I am very much looking forward to the comps for today. So which book would you like to start us off with?
Okay, so I'm going to start us off with a nonfiction book. So that is Dinner on Monster Island by Tanya de Rosario. And this is not her debut, but it is her sort of major publisher debut. She lives in Canada, and she's from Singapore, where she grew up. And it is a collection of essays that is about pop culture, about growing up queer, about growing up to a mother who was Pentecostal, And De Rosario writes beautifully about all of these things. And one of my favorite things is that she really sort of refuses to have any easy answers. So, she writes about like how she feels connected to The Ring, both the novels and the horror movie that they were based on. And how she feels this kind of kinship with this monster.
What? That is wild. I want to know more about
Yeah,
that.
but part of it is because she was told as a young person that she was evil, like she had a
Mm.
7-hour exorcism when she was 12. And there's this moment she writes about really poignantly that, like, she was being yelled at by her mother and their friends for 7 hours. And then it was the fact that she was angry, that she had anger on her face towards the end, that one of her mother's friends like yelled at her and said that was proof that the devil was inside of her. And she writes about how years later, that is the moment that like still sticks with her, because even after all of that humiliation and all of that, that time, those hours of people trying to cast the devil out of her, the idea that like her rage wasn't her own was really like, that was sort of the crowning horror for her, that like even her bodily, completely rational rage and response she was being told that wasn't hers, that was the devil's, and yeah, she's such a beautiful writer. And one of the really interesting things that she writes about also is just sort of Singapore as a place, and how it is, in some ways kind of made to seem this this kind of utopia in all of these ways, right? And she writes about how then on the other hand, I think it's William Gibson wrote an essay about Singapore that she engages with as well, and about the death penalty there. And she kind of writes about this complexity of feeling, angry in some ways for how he wrote about it, but also having a lot of critiques of it herself. And when she leaves, when she left and moved to Canada, she said that she cried for a month, but it wasn't because she was homesick. It was because she was relieved to finally be away, and to be able to live more of an open queer life. Even though she did in many ways live an openly queer life in Singapore, it was just scrutinized and more dangerous. And so it's a really kind of surprising essay collection. Like she experiments with form, she moves between first and second person. I underlined like half of the book. Like it's one of those where I just look through it and I'm like, I don't even know which bit I would want to read to you because they're all so good. And I love how she dwells in the gray areas, because that's something that feels uniquely and especially queer to me, and especially necessary right now when we kind of all really want absolute answers, but absolute answers are almost always too simple and unrealistic, and whether that's in policy or in our interpersonal lives, right? Like very few things are just the one thing. And so I really like how she dwells in that area and kind of allows her essays to be so confidently written, but allowing for uncertainty to exist and for questions to sort of continue to bubble up.
Have you read the novel The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin?
No, it's on my list of the men. I want to read everything she's ever written, but I love her so much. So
it was the first book I ever read of hers, and it's about anarchists who decide that they are like, we're going on a spaceship and we're going to the moon and we're creating an anarchist society there.
And they do, right?
And they do. And when you look at the problems they have, I'm like, can I have those problems over these? That's a different episode.
Right.
But sometimes I just feel like, can we have a queer moon, please? Or like, can we have Minnesota? Can we
straight
have, like,
out all the queers
Southern
in
California? Yeah, like I'm just like, I want to gather all of us up and put us in a place and just like wall us off so we can just heal. and be in a queer utopia. But this sounds amazing.
Yeah, and like it's not like even in a queer utopia we'd have problems, but like I feel like at least more of us would know how to de-escalate, and like
I
we
would want
want
those
to.
problems over
Yeah.
the problems that we have right now. I would
Yes.
gladly look forward to that. But Dinner on Monster Island by Tanya de Rosario, essay collection. That's our first book. We're talking with author and critic Ilana Masad, whose new novel Beings came out this fall. She joins us on the third Friday of the month to share LGBTQ books that you need to be reading. What is our second book? What second book do you have for us today?
Our second book is This Place Kills Me by Mariko Tamaki and illustrated by Nicole Gu. And first of all, it's gorgeous. I know that people who are not watching this can't see it, but I can show you.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. And it's,
if you're on YouTube right now, you get to see it.
Yeah, it's in this amazing like pink and blue color palette throughout. And so it's about two girls in a all-girls boarding school in the 80s. And it's a murder mystery of sorts. So one of the sort of most popular girls is found dead the night after debuting as Juliet in their sort of very popular theater club's production of Romeo and Juliet. And people think she killed herself. And our main character, Abby, does not think that. She's very confused by this because she saw her earlier that evening and she didn't seem, at all suicidal or depressed or anything. And the method also kind of doesn't super make sense that she could kill herself that way. Anyway, because her dagger was found like plunged into her, the dagger that she'd used in the play. And so Abby is a transfer student and she is deeply unpopular because kind of everyone seems to know she's gay, even though she's not out, and she's not, she doesn't really even know what she is. She just knows that she's different. And so she's kind of like, doesn't give a fuck about anyone. She walks around with her headphones on all the time. And she and her roommate, who is part of the school newspaper, together start to investigate this death. And the answers are surprising. And I believe there's going to be a sequel. And Mariko is an incredible writer. She's also written, standalone novels. She's written a bunch of comics for DC. She and her cousin Jillian Tamaki wrote Skim. So she's an incredible writer, and this book is just really beautiful and really quick and very satisfying.
Love it. It's been a while since I've read a really good graphic novel, so this is going to be. You're saying this is a good one. This is the one to go with next. All right.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Definitely. And both of these sort of deal in different ways with what it means to not fit in your environment. And the reason that I chose these and the next book that we'll be discussing after the break, I think, is because we're heading into the holiday season, or it already is the holiday season for some of us. And many queer people choose not to go home. Many queer people do go home. Many queer people don't have a home to go to. But it is a difficult time for many people in terms of feeling or not feeling like they belong. And so all of these books in one way or another kind of deal with feeling like you don't quite belong and how you deal with that and where you can find points of connection within that feeling.
It's reminding me of a TV show. Oh, it just came out. Spirits. School Spirits. Well, just keep repeating it. Where a student dies, but it's her ghost, and so she's surrounded by all the ghosts of the students who have died in the school, and they're trying to figure out, did she take her own life, or was she murdered? And so you kind
Right.
of watch this play out over 8 or 10 episodes, and there was a second season. It's really good. And this sounds like this would absolutely be in the same vein for folks who liked that series. Would like
Yes,
this one as well.
totally.
How does the case go then for our main character? I mean, like, what does that investigation look like for her?
So she's mostly kind of eavesdropping and kind of looking around and snooping in places she's not supposed to. And her roommate, who is, you know, always kind of changes with her back to her because she's worried about, the lesbian seeing something, in that paranoid way the teenagers have, and that homophobia encourages. So because she's a sort of wannabe journalist, she can't help but get interested and kind of follows Abby along, and tries to get in on the investigation and find out what she learns. But Abby keeps sort of being told by the adults, don't keep snooping. This is not for you to know. This is not for you to see. It's that kind of very prestigious, buttoned up private school where everyone is expected to behave, but of course people misbehave in private. And so that is one of the sort of scandals that she sort of stumbles upon is the ways that people are misbehaving in private and how the adults may or may not be involved. Because, that is sort of always the thing with young people, is that if they can't trust the adults in their life, that's not good.
That's not good. All right, that graphic novel is This Place Kills Me by Mariko Tamaki, illustrated by Nicole Gu. We're going to have one more book recommendation from Ilana Masad. When we come back, you're listening to The Gaily Show. Welcome back, rather, to the Gaily Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour here on AM 950 KTNF and WCPT 820. My guest today is Ilana Masad, author and critic, who is the co-editor of the forthcoming anthology Here for All the Reasons Why We Watch The Bachelor. She joins us the third Fridays of the month to share LGBTQ books that you and I need to be reading. Ilana, what is the final book that you have for us today?
The final book today is The Safe Keep by Yael van der Wooden. And I believe you have read this one as well, John.
I haven't read it, but Yael has been a guest on the show. So right when it was about to come out, I got to talk with Yael, and I think this was last year, and it was a delightful conversation. There was like a bidding war for this book, right?
Yeah. Yes. Which is so interesting because it is so gay. And I never understand how, when publishers are like into gay stuff and when they're not. But so there's two ways that I can pitch this to you. One is that it is a wonderful, very smart historical novel about kind of the aftermath of World War II and what life was like in the aftermath, for people who had lived through it, for people who had been on the home front. Specifically, this is in the Netherlands, if I'm not, yes, in the rural Dutch landscape in particular. And that's one way I could pitch this to you. The other way I could pitch this to you is that it is smut and pretty houses, which is not my term. This is a term Yael herself has used, because it is about a gorgeous house and the two women who embark on something wonderful in this house and very unexpected. So our main character is Isabel, who lives in this house that her mother died her mother died recently. She's still living in this house, trying to keep it up as perfectly as it kind of always was. She's seems to spend her days kind of just taking care of the house and ordering about the servant and maintaining its kind of pristine quality. And then her brother is engaged to this woman, Ava, and he sort of drops Ava off and says she would like to live with you while I'm away on business. And I feel like this makes most sense because I can't leave her alone in my place, you know. So why doesn't she live here? She loves the countryside. And Ava is seemingly kind of lowborn. She's not of the upper classes the way that Isabel is. She's rough around the edges. Her hair is dyed. And, you know, she's a lot looser. And she takes an interest in Isabel, and she takes an interest in the house. And over time, as the two women begin to get closer, there are some other questions that come up. So about Ava's fascination with the house and her kind of deep and increasingly kind of obsessive sense of what is in the house and who is in the house. And I don't want to spoil anything. I will say that if you are Jewish and know something about some of the history of World War II of that era, of that area during that era, you might see some of it coming. But I yesterday got a text from a friend who had just finished reading it and is Jewish, and she did not see it coming at all. So, you know, so there is sort of a twist of sorts. But really it's about the intimacy of two women, and it's about a woman who has never allowed herself to feel or experience her sexuality, coming to embrace it and sort of really live in it. And it's beautiful and it's historic and the descriptions are lush. And, you know, I mean, the cover features two pears, and one of the pears has like a single piece of moisture kind of tear going down it. And so it does feel, and it is a thirsty book, but also very literary. That's part of what's sort of astonishing about it, is it is both beautiful and serious and deeply sexy.
Oh, well done, Yael.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
I'm curious, what would be the comps for the safe keep?
Ooh, well, gosh, that's a great question.
Kind of sounds very unique on its own.
Yeah, I mean, it's in some ways like other historical fiction about queer people, in the sense that it is a lot about kind of the handling of something that you don't have a name for and that you don't know exists or don't know to recognize exists. During a time of repression, I think there was a book that came out this past year, Lavender People. I have not read it yet, but that is also about that is, I think, slightly before World War II, and is also about sort of queer people coming into community. So yeah, maybe that one.
Okay. All right. Well, it is The Safe Keep by Yael van der Wouden, and we will have links to where you can get your very own copies of these books, as well as Ilana's newest novel, Beings, in bookstores now. Catch up with all of her book reviews and information about her forthcoming anthology that she is co-editing here for all the reasons why we watch The Bachelor at her website, Ilana Masad, MASAD. Ilana, happy Hanukkah, happy New Year. I guess we'll see you in January. And I'm Blue Sky.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Happy holidays.
Happy
New Year.
holidays. And thank you everyone for listening and watching today. Remember to click subscribe and leave us a comment on YouTube. You can keep the gay going on all weekend long. On Saturday afternoon on AM 950, it is Pride on AM 950 Radio. Twin Cities Pride Amplified has their show at 3 p.m. The Illegal Trans Woman at 4 p.m. and the Downright Upright show at 5 p.m. On Sunday at 11 a.m. on WCPT 820 is Out Chicago. It's Sunday brunch with your gay best friends, Ellen Miller and Scott Duff. And until this time on Monday, Keep it queer, America.